Folks, I hope you're doing well, and welcome to episode 5 of WAPTSS, aka We All Practice the Same Stuff. If you don't already know, in the series I will give you a new exercise every 2 weeks for us all to practice together. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out episode 1 where I go into more details about the series. Now today's a bit of a special episode. I'm going to be going over 2 comments/questions that I've gotten from some viewers that I thought were really interesting, and I think they bring a new kind of mindset to practice. The second question will be right before we go over the exercise for this week, so make sure you stick around for that. But let's take a look at our first comment. So our first comment is from Paul, and sorry Paul, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus or anything. I just thought it was a really interesting comment, and I think we can learn a lot from this. Paul's comment comes from episode 2 of WAPTSS, which was our Get Jacked episode. Basically, he said something like, "This exercise seems pretty easy for me," and he was really excited to see where the series goes as it gets more and more difficult. So let me just start by saying I have no intentions of making our exercises get more and more difficult. And in fact, I'd wager to say that 99% of guitar exercises and even guitar pieces can be made easier by doing something. And I'll tell you what that is in a moment. But the main thing that I want us to pull away from today's video is that our guitar practice should always be about challenging ourselves personally. So let's talk about this idea of easy exercises and difficult exercises. If you think back, I'm sure we've all seen some piece of music that looked really scary to us, probably because there was either a lot of notes or the notes were really fast. And while of course if you look at this piece of music compared to Mary Had a Little Lamb, it's significantly more difficult, but anything can be made easy if we just slow down the tempo. So if we look at a piece of music, maybe it's really scary looking, it's got a bunch of 64th notes really, really fast. If we set our metronome to be 1 beat as a 64th note, and then we say that each 64th note is 10 beats per minute, that means that we have 6 seconds between each note. So suddenly this really scary passage has become really easy. We have 6 seconds between each note. Now, of course, the march tempo is probably not a 64th note gets the beat in at 10 beats per minute. So that's obviously really, really slow. But again, the whole idea of our guitar practice should be that we're challenging ourselves personally. So with this in mind, we can make something really difficult, really easy by slowing down the tempo. We can also do the opposite. We can make something really easy, really difficult by speeding up the tempo. So if we look at, for example, Fingerstroke Burst, the very first WAPTSS that I put out, I think I was playing that around 100 beats per minute, I think is where I was at, and that was fine. It's where I felt comfortable, and that's where I'm at. But if we look at some professional guitarists like John Williams or David Russell, I'm sure that they have, over time, they've had to take that exercise and go faster and faster and faster. They started where I started a long, long, long time ago, and now they're all the way up to, I don't know, who knows, 200 beats per minute or something like that. And even then, they could challenge themselves. They could bump that up to 300 beats per minute, and they could try and go even faster. So we can all take the same exercise and all get value out of it just by challenging ourselves. And it doesn't just stop at tempo either. When we're practicing, often the exercise isn't even that important. What I'm more focused on is what my right hand is doing and what my left hand is doing. So for example, in an exercise, if I'm thinking about my left hand, there's a few things that I want to try and perfect or try and make better. So the first thing, and it's probably the closest to my heart right now, is that I'm always trying to work on my left hand positioning, my finger positioning on the strings. Now that I'm focused more on my guitar practice, I'm really trying to focus on helping my left hand because it's been a problem for a long time. Another thing that could be happening is some squeaks in your left hand. So this is another good time to work on those. The Get Jacked exercise is a really good example of this. You might hear some open strings that you don't want, or some string squeaks that you don't want, or some buzzing that you don't want. So for example, especially on the pinky finger, if you can hear. So right there. When I lift my finger, I get an open string sound there. So maybe I want to try and figure out how can I not make that sound. The easiest solution would just be to mute it with your thumb. Okay, now what about our right hand? So first and biggest thing is that we want to try and keep our finger movements even. So if we're playing eighth notes, they should all be the same duration and the same loudness. Second, we can try to think about our tone quality. So when you're playing, you want to try and think, how does my guitar sound? In the past, maybe I would have tried to say, oh, I've got a cheap guitar, or the sound quality in my room's bad or something. I'd try and make excuses. But then I thought, okay, if I gave my guitar to, again, a professional guitar player, I bet they could make this sound really nice. And so there's a lot that you can do for your tone quality just in your right hand. And with both your right and left hand, it's really important that you're always relaxed. Finally, I think that you should treat every exercise kind of like it's a piece. You're not just playing the exercise to go through the motion, to get it done with, but you're treating it like it's a piece of music that you're really trying to make sound beautiful. So for example, I've really been digging the spider recently. I've been playing it a lot. And so maybe I can do some things with the dynamics. Maybe I could speed it up, slow it down, add some phrasing, stuff like this, maybe some rest strokes, try and make it sound really nice. So maybe something like this. So to kind of piggyback on this idea, the last thing I want to talk about is variation. So the first thing we could look at is rhythm. So for example, if we take the spider, instead of doing an even eighth note rhythm, maybe we could do kind of a dotted swing rhythm, something like. Second would be your right hand fingering. So usually people will use their pointer finger and their middle finger. That's the most comfortable. But maybe you want to work on your middle finger and ring finger coordination or something. So if we take a look at the finger stroke burst again, instead of using our middle and pointer finger, we'll use our middle and ring finger, which is really challenging. I'm not going to do it now because I can't. Okay, there, I tried one. We could also make something, I guess I'll say tonal. So if we look at the finger stroke burst again, when I gave it to you, it was just on a single string. But maybe I just want to turn that into the C major scale to make it a little more interesting. So something like. So these are all a lot of things to think about. Obviously, I don't think you should think of all of them at the same time, but just choose one that you think is something you want to work on. So for example, maybe something in your right hand, maybe something in your left hand, maybe your dynamics, maybe your rhythm, whatever it is, choose one and try and make your practice more focused. Thanks again for the comment call. Thanks again for the comment, Paul. Okay, and question 2 comes from our Discord from my friend named Taylor. He asked a simple question. He just asked, do you practice all of the WAPTSS every day? And my answer is no, of course not. That would be so much stuff to practice. What I personally do is every 2 weeks I switch to the new one. I don't continue to practice the ones before, I just practice the new one. But Taylor had also mentioned that he was really digging Get Jacked. And so I don't think that you need to switch to the new one every time. I think you should be practicing what you want to practice. The biggest thing I want to take away with this series is not that we're all necessarily practicing the same thing all at the same time, but it's that we're all developing the sense of community, that we're all practicing together. So even if I'm practicing the spider and Taylor's practicing Get Jacked, it's sweet because we can both come into the Discord and we can share our thoughts and we can share our practice. So I mentioned that I was going to share the exercise after question 2. So this week's exercise could be seen as a bit of cheating on my part, but I think that it makes a lot of sense and I think it will help us all broaden our practice horizon. So I'm going to be combining Paul's comment and Taylor's question. So for Taylor's question, I want you to choose whichever WAPTSS you want. Whichever one's your favorite, you choose that one, and that's what you'll be practicing for the next 2 weeks. So then we'll toss in Paul's aspect here, and I want you to also make it your own. You do you, BooBoo. So whatever exercise you choose, make sure that you focus on something. So focus on your right hand, focus on your left hand, focus on your dynamics, focus on your phrasing, focus on your rhythm, focus on your tone quality, whatever it is, make it yours. So to end the video, I'm going to show you maybe what I would do if I was going to do a variation on each of the exercises. I strongly encourage you not to just take my variations and do it yourself. If you like it, it's fine, go ahead. I think, again, the most important thing is that we're practicing. But I think it would also be really beneficial for you if you developed your own variation. So for the exercises, I'll go in order of the release. So first will be finger stroke burst, second will be Get Jacked, third will be C major scale, and fourth will be spider. watching. Folks, I want to thank you so much for watching episode 5 of WAPTSS. I know this episode was a little bit different, and I promise that next time we'll get back to a more normal episode, but I really did think that this was an important thing to talk about. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're interested in the series, and really consider joining the Discord. I think it's a great place to share your practice and to talk with others about guitar. I myself use it every day. I try to post my practice log. I think it helps keep me motivated, and it also keeps me accountable. So with all that said, thanks for watching, happy practicing, and you do you, boo-boo.